Another starting pitcher that the Arizona Diamondbacks may end up targeting is a guy from the Cleveland Guardians, but not the one you think we're going to talk about. We're talking about Aaron Civale, who happens to be one of the better pitchers right now on this team this season, and kind of, I guess you would say, for the most part, but at least for a lot of baseball fans, kind of flying under the radar as far as a big name, but a guy that's been putting up pretty impressive numbers this season.
Yeah, this is a guy, I think it was John Morosi, who does some stuff for MLB Network and whatnot, an MLB insider. He pointed to Aaron Civale as being one of the lesser known, maybe not quite talked about enough guys who could be available at the trade deadline. If we look at his numbers this season, you can see why teams would be interested in him in much the same way as they'd be interested in Eduardo Rodriguez. A 2.71 ERA this year, a 1.08 WHIP. He has missed some time. I believe he had an oblique strain earlier in the season, so he's only thrown 63 innings. 7 strikeouts per 9, 2.6 walks per 9. The peripherals here are not as shiny as they are with Rodriguez. He has a 3.72 FIP, as you see here, but still a guy who would be an upgrade for the D-backs in their rotation. They clearly have a spot to fill.
He's had a good defense playing behind him up there in Cleveland, and the FIP shows it. But when you look at his numbers in his time in Cleveland, not great overall. He has a 3.87 career ERA.
Yeah.
But still, again, what we were talking about when it comes to the Diamondbacks targeting someone, I like things about Civale that kind of line up with the Diamondbacks timeline, like their core that they currently have that they're building around. Let's take a look at his pros and cons. He's obviously a clear upgrade for them right now when it comes to the starting rotation. And it's these other two factors. The fact that his contract isn't very big and he's controllable through 2026. So, I mean, it gives the Diamondbacks somebody that isn't just a rental. And that, for me, is my biggest concern with a lot of these guys that they're pursuing. It's what the cost is going to be to get them in a trade and how long they're going to be a part of this team going forward.
Yeah, I think it's through 2025. I think we've got two more.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He's a free agent.
He'll be a free agent, in 2026. So you'd have 2 more years after this one if you were to acquire him, which is, I think, the primary reason that teams would be interested in Civale that year. It's not just a rental down the stretch. He's, I think, the first starting pitcher we've talked about who's not just a rental down the stretch. So there are some things to like here. He's only making $2.6 million this year, so his cost for the remainder of the season would be probably less than $1 million. So from a financial standpoint, he's not going to cost you much, and he's just arbitration eligible for the next couple of seasons. There are some on the con side. It would probably cost a lot to get him still because the Cleveland Guardians tend to kind of set their price high and not really come off it.
They're very smart about it. And they get what they want. That's how that team was so young last year and did what they did in the playoffs.
He also, bizarrely, in his most recent start, I don't know if people have looked into this or kind of figured out what exactly happened, but his stuff was down in his last start at the Pittsburgh Pirates. He still pitched pretty well overall, but his 4-seamer was down to 88.7 in that start. And it averaged 93.3 just 2 weeks ago. So pretty decent drop off there. I don't know if there's an easy explanation to that. I would guess there probably isn't. So I'm sure that any teams looking at him are probably going to do their homework and try to figure out what's going on there. And that brings us to the last thing here, which is durability as a con of trading for Civale. He has never thrown more than 124 and a third innings in a season in the majors, which is not that big of a number. He had, I believe it was forearm tightness at one point last year, which of course is always a red flag. I mentioned the oblique thing earlier this season. He's just had a hard time really staying on the field for a full season. So if you do trade for him and you get those 2 more seasons after this one, you kind of have to know that you're probably not getting 180 innings out of this guy over the next 2 years. You're probably getting 20 starts or so, and then you're going to have to piece it together with some depth options from there. So there are some risk factors here, but he would be an upgrade for the D-backs. He's more of a mid-rotation guy than a top-of-the-rotation guy, but the D-backs could use a mid-rotation guy for sure. So this definitely could make sense for that reason.
His consistency over his last few starts has been fairly good too. He's given up 5
the results have been good.
Yeah, 5 earned runs in his last 4 starts. So that's something, especially from a team that's lacked consistency, even from their top starters, right? I mean, even from Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen. Merrill Kelly has probably been more consistent this year than Zach Gallen, but we still have a lot of like Gallen's home road splits and a lot of things that are kind of odd with these guys. And again, I think stability is something the Diamondbacks definitely need.